Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon and welcome to Working for You. I am Roy Williams. Thank you for tuning in to today's program. We appreciate your company very much. Today we are going to step it up. S.T.E.P, the Skills Training Empowerment Program, is celebrating its second anniversary. And today we are here to talk about how that program has evolved and is helping numerous people, young people, older people, here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I have with me officials from the Department of the Skills Training Empowerment Program, who would engage you in a very lively discussion in terms of all that is happening within that training program. I'm going to introduce them to you now. I have with me, I'm going to start with Mr. D'Souza, Mr. Osbert D'Souza, who is Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for S.T.E.P. Mr. D'Souza, welcome.
Thank you.
I also have with me Mr. Wendell Watley, who is the Director of S.T.E.P. Mr. Watley, welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. William Phillip, who is a Senior Field Officer for S.T.E.P. in St. Kitts. Welcome, Mr. Phillip.
Thank you, Mr. William.
And Oscar Astro Brown, you will know him as Astro, the Calypsonian. He is the Senior Field Officer for S.T.E.P. in Nevis. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Now, 2 years later, it's 2 years later. Have we stepped it up or stepped it down? Mr. Watley.
I would think that the S.T.E.P program certainly has stepped up. As you indicated, it has evolved from what was known then as PEP, which was People's Employment Program. The S.T.E.P program is Skills Training Empowerment Program. The emphasis is on skills training and certification.
Right. So the program has evolved. You were saying from what it was. I think it's People's Employment Program. I don't think the word empowerment was in there. It's People Employment Program. And now it is Skills Training Empowerment Program. Now you're saying that the emphasis now is on skills training.
That's right, Mr. Williams.
And that skills training is what empowers people.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The core objective of the Skills Training Empowerment Program is to produce a pool of empowered, skilled, employable workers in St. Kitts and Nevis through technical and vocational education and training delivered via formal as well as informal training program. The mission of the S.T.E.P focuses on its commitment to promoting the social and economic transformation of St. Kitts and Nevis by providing skills training and employment opportunities that will develop the human resource capabilities of unemployed nationals, especially the vulnerable, the disadvantaged, in collaboration with public and private sector employers and training institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, so the emphasis is on skills training.
That's right.
How does that lead to empowerment? That is what I want to hear.
Well, if we were to look at the St. Kitts Nevis workforce and the workplace requirements, we recognize that tremendous emphasis has been placed on building up the tourism product, hotels and so on, restaurants and so on. But we need to be able to have persons who are properly trained and certified to operate within these hotels and restaurants, etc. Not just at the lower levels, but also at the middle management and probably upper management areas. And so the emphasis of the skills training program is to fill that void. The certification aspect of it also is critical, because we know that in the past we have seen persons come from other Caribbean countries and take up positions with a certificate that they have obtained from their home country. Not that all people are not skilled enough, but they're missing a link, which is the certification end of it. And so today, Mr. D'Souza and myself are going to expound on the connection between the skills training program and the TVEC council itself.
Right, so that leads me to my next question. Mr. D'Souza, the Caribbean Development Bank has done some study in terms of the program, and it continues to play some role in the program still. Could you tell us a little bit in terms of that?
I have in my hand the document, I guess the camera can focus on it, that speaks to the review of the Skills and Training Empowerment Program. This was undertaken by a consultancy done by John Dunpier and Barnett and Associates. I think they're out of Trinidad, Jamaica, out of Jamaica. What is happening really is that there's a TVET enhancement program that the Caribbean Development Bank is funding via a loan to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And this TVET enhancement program essentially tries to bring all the technical and vocational institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis, the AVEC, the National Skills Training Program, the CFB, to bring them under one umbrella that is directed by the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Council. There is a secretariat that is operated out of the Ministry of Education and headed by Mr. Courtney Thompson. The S.T.E.P, as you would expect, is an integral part of this TVET enhancement project. We are aware that the Caribbean Development Bank has made available to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis a substantial amount of funds to pay for the consultancy that will guide the process of enhancing the S.T.E.P, the Skills Training Empowerment Program. We are making a concerted effort with the private sector to ensure that we provide the necessary skill sets that are needed for the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. Every time I speak to the S.T.E.P program, I am reminded that we have the capacity, but the absence of a recognized training institution to provide certification for Caribbean vocational education and training is creating a problem for us. I am also aware that the National Vocational Education certificate is available, but we want to notch it up a bit, step it up a bit, and make sure that our people can access CVQ, Caribbean Vocational Education and Training Certificate, where they can move across the region and ensure that they are employed with a skill that is absolutely necessary for the building of any country. We have a number of persons who come to St. Kitts and are able to nudge themselves towards jobs that our people are not in a position to get. And the reason for that is that the investors, the hoteliers, are asking for a piece of paper, a certificate that you would have gone through a year's program, 2 years program in some kind of technical and vocational education and training. And we don't have that. We don't have that. And we are found at a disadvantage. And I think the STEP has to play an integral part in ensuring that we get there.
Okay. Now, Mr. Philip, you do some work in the field as a field officer. Tell us really what your work consists of in the field.
My work actually is to make sure that the STEP activities performed by the trainees have been done the way they had to be done. Also, with me, I have field officers and supervisors. Supervisors are the persons who supervises field interns on a day-to-day, hour-on-hour basis. And to make sure that they're being in check, my field officers are the ones who go around to make sure that what is to be done is done in order, been done in time, and it's been done properly. Then those field officers would report to me, and then I would report up the ladder to the director. So we are focusing on the operational side of the STEP. We make visits to the various groups to make sure that the areas designated for the community enhancement groups are properly maintained. There are many areas that are designated to the community enhancement group in almost every community in this country. Places like the schools, community centers, you name it. We make sure that those places are key. The churches in all the communities in St. Kitts are also included. The cemeteries, we take care of all the landscape of the cemeteries. So we are fully in charge to make sure that the mandate of the STEP are being carried out on a day-to-day basis. Also, while we do our visits, we make sure that the interns themselves, they carry out the mandate as being properly disciplined, that they maintain the required dress code. We check the attendance and to make sure they are on par with the interpersonal skills. So it's quite a lot has been done by my department.
Mr. Brown,
Yes,
you just mentioned that the proper dress code, discipline. What does that have to do with landscaping?
It has a lot to do with landscaping. If I may speak,
Is there any link? I mean, I can say, well, look, I'm a landscaper. I can come to work however I want. I can come at 8 o'clock. I can come at 9. I can dress how I want. I can, go home when I feel like, and so on. Why the discipline? Why having to maintain the proper dress code and so on?
because on the STEP program, we also seek to personally develop our people. We're not just seeking to develop their physical and technical skills. We also seek to develop their minds, their attitude, the culture that in which they are expected to perform in. The STEP is a training program that prepares you for future employment. You don't want people showing up at your house to do your gardens. You want them to be there at 8. You're paying them from 8, but they decide to come at 9. That's indiscipline, and that's a reflection to meet up the STEP program if we allow that sort of culture to cultivate into a chronic problem whereby we can't control it. So we seek to develop it from the first level. Dress properly, reach to work on time, leave work at the designated time, keep your work area clean. At the same time, we expect you to be respectful of the field officers, the supervisors that you are attached to. So it's a wholesome, holistic development, not just one aspect. Because if you develop one aspect and leave the other behind, to me that would be failure.
I totally agree with you. Is it working?
It's working in in most cases. It's working. Yes, in every situation, every organization, you'll have issues, little issues. We do have issues because the system is not perfect. There are people who still try to cheat the system, and those are dealt with. It's dealt with in their pockets. It's reflected in the hours that's on the timesheet. People has been suspended for indiscipline, lack of proper behavior. So yes, you'll have the little hiccups here and there because it's not a perfect program. We're seeking to get it to a level that we can be extremely proud of. We are already proud of it now, but we're trying to get it to the level where we can say, I think we have done really, really well.
And I think you've made a good point in that it's not just being a landscaper, it's not just being an accountant, it's not just being a doctor or lawyer, but what you want is a well-rounded person.
Exactly.
Additionally, that's why the matter of the safety issue, work safety issue, which has been considered. We can't allow persons to come to work dressed inappropriately because persons can get hurt on the job if they're not properly, they're not wearing the correct safety gear and clothing and equipment. And that has serious implications with respect to social security, because and the labor department, because certainly we can, there's a proviso always that the employer, we are the transition between the actual assigned employer and the employee or the trainee, and so we have to ensure that they have proper protective wear and gears.
Occupational safety and health.
Occupational health and safety is critical. Okay.
Safety comes before now, you know. They used to say OHS, but now they say OSH.
Oh yes.
Or the safety. So occupational safety and health.
Critical.
Yeah, they've changed it around. But he touched on a certain point, and that has to do with one of the ways you have stepped it up is in terms of structure on the PEP. What are some of the steps in which structures have been put in place on the program? Mr. D'Souza.
The government has engaged the services of Mr. Emil Green as a consultant to help bring some structure to the STEP program. Mr. Green is an expert in operations structure. What the official name is called? Operation
Transition operational procedures.
I'm trying to get the correct name. Mr. Green has worked for some time at the industrial site where he has been involved in standard operating procedures. That's what I'm trying to find. Standard operating procedures. And he is in close contact with the consultants who are trying to reorganize and restructure the STEP, coming up with some objectives, some aims, a proper mandate, vision statement, and what have you. That is very important because, as I mentioned a while ago, the bank is involved, the Caribbean Development Bank, and all of these things I think they have to be put in place to ensure that we are meeting what is called the conditions precedent at the Caribbean Development Bank. I also want to speak to the fact that Mr. Green has been very instrumental in getting the guidelines that were required by the bank in place and have them submitted to the bank for formal approval. We meet regularly with the TVET Secretariat, the AVEC, the National Skills Training Program. all in aim of trying to make sure that we are nudging the STEP program in the direction mandated by the government to provide skills training to a number of young persons. Of course, given the numbers of persons on this STEP, you expect some challenges, but we are trying to deal with some of these challenges. We are trying to deal with some of the attitudes towards work as we make an effort to try to encourage the young men and women who are engaged on this STEP to try to see if they can seek and get the benefit, take advantage of the investment that is offered by the government via the Skills Training Empowerment Program. So I want to take this opportunity to encourage them to approach the STEP office, indicate the skills area that they may have some interest in. Of course, we always link with the Labor Department to see where the demands are. So those demands can guide the kind of training that we deliver. Training should not be done in a vacuum. You don't train people and then have nowhere to put them. So the demands of the society must be the factor that dictate where we train persons, the areas in which we train persons.
Okay. At one point, the sustainability of the program was in question. The lifetime of the program was in question. Where are we in terms of that? The sustainability of the program.
Well, every country,
because it was not meant to be. How long is it now?
it's going on 5 years.
It's going on 5 years. It was meant to be only for 6 months.
Yes.
It is now 5 years. So it has been sustained for 5 years, something that was meant only for 6 months. So I'm asking, yeah.
I think it has to be made absolutely clear that the PEP, which is now this STEP, started under the former administration. And it is a fact that it was intended under the former administration to be for a period of 6 months. I think people have to understand that. In relation to the sustainability of the STEP program, of course, this STEP is costing taxpayers quite a bit of monies. But we have to be mindful of the social ills, the social challenges that we will have in the absence of a program like the STEP. Every country has social issues. Every country has unemployment issues. And the government of every country has to make sure that programs are put in place to assist some of the less fortunate individuals among us. That is not to say that we want people to come on this STEP and be on this STEP forever. We want people to come on this STEP, acquire skill, open the business of their own, get private employment, and I want to go on to say that we, at the STEP office, want to encourage some of the private sector partners that have benefited from STEP workers for extended period of time to give serious consideration to taking some of these people off the program. You would appreciate that there's a massive investment made by the government in some of these businesses, and it is not reasonable, it is not fair for some business houses to expect the government to pay 10%, 15%, sometimes in some cases 100% of their wage bill for extended period of time. So I want to make an appeal now for them to give consideration. We are in a position, I think, where we can justify asking some of the business houses to do such. We are fully aware that the millions of dollars that go into the STEP can go in other areas of investment. And just on Sunday, at the service, the Prime Minister mentioned that the monies could have been invested in roads, in health, in education, but we cannot ignore the fact that the number of young persons who are not equipped with skills, who are not equipped academically, would have challenges securing job, and hence the country will have to step up to the plate and provide something like this STEP to ensure that the unemployment is kept in check.
If I can add something
Sure.
to what Mr. D'Souza said, and we have always boasted that our people are our greatest resources, and empowerment of a people will always be very expensive, will always be costly, but you're making an investment in your people. So yes, people want to know the cost, and by all right, they have a right to do, and how it's sustained and stuff. But when you look at the end result, you look at the fact that we are making this investment in our people. We are trying to make our people better. We are trying to make our people more employable and more ready for future challenges. So I totally agree it's a worthwhile investment, because it's a sound investment, and we have seen the fruits of this investment.
Yeah, because the sustainability of anything, let's look at it. You have to look at input and you have to look at output. And if your input far outweighs what you're getting in terms of output, something cannot be really sustained. And so therefore you have to really look in the end how the program and those people who are benefiting from the program then move on in terms of, you know, national development. And you mentioned an important thing. It's not just about national development, that economic development and so on, but the human development that you mentioned, which is key. Discipline and all of that, that is important too. But
I just want to pick up on what Astro Oscar Brown said, and also connected with Mr. D'Souza and the social implications with respect to the program. A lot of people see the STEP as just the people who are out there, who are in the communities, who are, some people call it cutting grass. The STEP program is far beyond cutting grass. The scope of this STEP program reaches wide. Education, that is primary school, secondary school, daycare centers, preschools, etc. Also, the STEP doesn't really just concern itself about what persons refer to as able-bodied people. The STEP program also covers the persons with physical challenges. At the McKnight Community Center, there are a group of individuals there who have physical challenges, and they are benefiting directly from the STEP program. Without the input of the STEP program, they would be left without a focus of getting, feeling as if they are valuable to the society, and so on. Addis Place at Greenlands is another point under consideration. Addis Place has about 28 persons there, and without the input of the STEP, Addis Place, those people would have been either home and creating all kind of issues for their parents and becoming a social challenge. So the STEP, as some people see it out there, the face of the STEP is the people out there in the communities, the community enhancement group. But the STEP goes far beyond what people are actually seeing, and it is important that we point it out at this forum, because it's critical. So when people think about closing down or give their view, they should close down this program, and it's not it's not working, and all sorts of other views. We have to think carefully. 2,500 person close this program, they'll be left as serious social issues.
Mr. Watley, the reality is that we have had several programs in the past that have popped up when an election is close by. Those programs popped up, and after the election they popped down. This program that popped up was not meant to be sustained for 5 years. It was a program that was meant, just like the Yes program, it was a program that was meant to be finished away with. Because apparently the motives, you have different motives, I pick up. in terms of, developing the skills of people and all of that. So I believe that the motive of the program has actually changed, Mr. D'Souza.
Yes, Lezo, I was hoping they would call in me for a response to that. Now, I am of the opinion that if Team Unity government had seen the S.T.E.P program as just an election gimmick, maybe it would have stopped immediately after the election. But I think the government has a deeper vision for the S.T.E.P program. We are fully aware that it's over 2 years back, and it was mooted before we actually launched 2 years back by the Prime Minister, that we want the PEP to move from just employing people to training people. So we are looking at a 4-year term government, and for that 4 year we have about 3 years in which the government tried to change the emphasis of this step. I don't see that this step is being used as some kind of political gimmick, because it would have stopped shortly after the government change. But I think the Prime Minister and his cabinet sees the need for a program like this step to help with the unemployment situation and to help with the absence of skills among our young people. So I don't subscribe to the notion that like this, yes, was before, and as the PEP was intended under the former administration, that this administration is seeing it as a gimmick where as soon as election done, you cut it. And I don't anticipate that this step will be going anywhere shortly.
But the architects of the PEP are now charging that you are using the program for political motives.
Where is the evidence of that? The program was started under the former administration, and it has grown into something that we can recognize now, something that is viable, and is serving a purpose. In Nevis, we have smaller numbers, and our program is structured somewhat different, in the sense that because we don't have the TVEC and all those other institutions over there. So we seek to put our people in on-the-job training. We have electricians that we hook people up to, and they do the necessary thing and gain the necessary skills. At the same time, you're being paid for your skills. And I see this program as really bridging a gap between where we want to go and where we are now, because we had some people, as Mr. Watley would have stated, that was sitting on the side, had nothing to do. I did some work home by me recently in electrical, and he's one of the persons who was attached to an electrician who came and did some work for me. He was able to acquire that skill, and this was somebody we had problems with in Brownhill. And now I look at him and he's responsible. He has a little car driving around. So that's one of his success stories, and that's why I said this program.
Right.
The change, I think, was key. The change of the name was key. And with the change of the name become new ideas and new vision. And I've seen it gone through a different level with the last 2 years.
And I think change will come as the image of the program is enhanced. Once the image of the program is enhanced, as people really see the program as a program that they can benefit from in terms of educationally and vocationally and so on, that in itself will give them a boost in terms of their own development.
There are success stories on this step in farming. There are success stories in cosmetology. There are success stories in auto mechanic. There are success stories in carpentry, just to name a few. Maybe we should have worked with some of those persons so they can speak to the success they have had after receiving training on this step program.
Yes.
I just want to add to that. When I speak of the TVET Council and the TVET Secretariat represents both Sinkers and Nevis. So I don't want the impression to be to come across that we are only dealing with Sinkers. Okay, I just want to make that absolutely clear.
Okay.
There are some other success stories, as Mr. D'Souza indicated. In a space of about a 4-week period, we were able to have four to five persons, I think it's 5 persons, who were assigned to Sinkers Marine Works, for example, absorb full-time on the payroll. There are other entities that have been able to absorb persons from the S.T.E.P program onto the payroll, And I want to take the opportunity as well to encourage the private sector to really give consideration to evaluating persons who are assigned to them from the STEP program, and to make a determination for those persons to become part of their payroll. Give them an opportunity to be fully employed on their, within their establishment. It creates to me not just a matter of relieving the step of numbers, but also creating psychologically in the minds of these persons who are assigned there for over a period of time that they are valued. And I believe they're valued. That's why they're there so long. And so I'm really putting this ball in the court of the persons from the private sector in particular, because I'm aware that within the public sector,
Yes.
we have had persons who transitioned from STEP to the full-time employment within the public sector. So the ball is now in the court of the private sector persons who have STEP persons with them to evaluate these persons and to make a determination with respect to the future of these people, because we cannot continue to have persons assigned over a long-term period through the private sector and they're not finding full-time employment within these institutions or establishments.
Mr. Yes, Philip.
Successes are all over. We have also had persons in the landscaping business who have now went to the development bank, got a loan, buy their own equipment, and are now into the landscaping business, and who has came back to the STEP office and asked to have intern attached to their business. So success.
So they have gone, created a business, and now they're employing people. Right. So,
the success.
yes, right. Now, how do you determine where the STEP interns are attached, and what institutions, I think, are eligible for STEP workers?
Well, if I may speak on that matter, the procedure with respect to having persons or have persons assigned to the STEP program is relatively, at this time, simple. There is an application form which you can get at the STEP office that has to be properly filled out with certain information that those persons have to provide banking information as well as their social security information. There is a page on that application form that has to be filled out and signed. It's a contract, really, that speaks to what is required of the persons who are on this program. It doesn't matter where they are assigned, in terms of their behavior, their performance, and so forth. And I just mentioned a couple. No smoking on the job. That is the use of illicit substances. No abuse of persons. No threatening languages to supervisors, etc., and so on. So there are certain guidelines. These have been modified by Mr. Green to meet the forward thrust of the STEP program. And so in the future, what persons will be seeing is not just a matter of an application form, but there will be an evaluation form for all employers to be able to evaluate properly, right? Guidelines that all employers would use to evaluate the performance of interns that are assigned to their workplace, right? That is one of the number of things that have been changed as regards to this program. It's not very, as I said before, it's not a very difficult thing. In addition to that, there have to be interviews to determine, one, their interests, their aptitude, attitude, and so forth. And all that goes with determining where to place the persons. We have had situations where we had to transfer persons from one entity to the next because of different reasons. And again, those are given consideration based on the situations as they arise.
It's important, Lesroy, to know that this has been done with no discrimination.
That's right.
And I must also add to that the forms also has the options of where you wish to, what skill level, skill area you would like to be placed in. So according to what you ticked off, then we'll try to reach the relevant people who can fit their needs.
Right.
That's right.
Now the certification that you spoke about, Mr. De Souza, the civic use, those are recognized regionally.
Yeah, I'm advised though that we are only at the level right now where we can provide NVQ certification, National Vocational Education certification in certain modules. I'm advised as well that we should be reaching very shortly the point where we can be in a position to issue civic use. We prefer the issuing of the civic use because with the civic use our nationals can move across borders and secure jobs so that they can meet their livelihood needs. We are working with the TVET Secretariat, and we just need to nudge them to be mindful that we expect them to deliver just like how the government expects the STEP to deliver. And we want the folks we are trying to encourage in relation to the training, to take the training seriously. We have too many issues with and challenges with attitude and attendance and behavior. Where people have to rise to the challenge and realize that if you want to control a work environment, then maybe you should get your own. But when you're working for people, when you're working for the government, there's certain things that are expected of you. So I want to encourage all of the young persons who are on this step, who are interested in learning a skill that this step is providing for you, to take it seriously. Take it very seriously, because there's a serious investment made by the government in you as young people. The government has a certain responsibility to provide that, and you also have a certain responsibility if you are one of the trainees.
Right. Now I began by saying that the STEP is celebrating 2 years. It's its second anniversary. And you have a week of activities. You had a church service on Sunday, the February 10th, where you had the official launch of the week by the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. That service was at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church. Now, could you highlight a few other activities of the week, the team, and what is behind the team?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams. As you indicated, the week of activities properly started on Sunday with the church service at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church, which was very well attended. Trainees from all over St. Kitts attended, as well as persons from the office and so on. The week was officially declared open by the Honorable Prime Minister at that church service, and we were able to benefit from the very sterling address of the Prime Minister that spoke to a number of issues and really challenged those persons on the program to really step up and recognize the tremendous financial input that is being made in their lives overall. Yesterday we had training of field officers and supervisors during the course of the mornings of yesterday, and those persons were trained in supervisory management skills, and we had about 70 persons, both from St. Kitts and Nevis, who had attended that program, and from all reports, it was well received. This morning, we had an activity at Bloody Point, and I'm going to let Mr. D'Souza speak to that one, because that one is significant, and followed by Mr. Philip on that one as well. But tomorrow, we'll be having training for our office staff. It is referred to as Staff Development Day. And those persons who are at the STEP office, both from St. Kitts and Nevis, will be getting some serious insight into communication skills, conflict management, resolution, etc., etc. Right? And Friday, I would consider that one the big day. It is a day where we showcase what this STEP is all about. All right? Mr. Philip will provide a little more on that, because he's the person who is really coordinating that activity at this time. Mr. D'Souza, I want Mr. D'Souza to speak about this morning, because that one.
This morning we launched a community enhancement and beautification competition. It was launched at Bloody River. We had a number of persons there who work on the enhancement team in that particular community. Of course, Mr. Watley, Mr. Philip and myself made some remarks, and it was chaired by the person who's leading the reorganization of the STEP program, the consultant Emil Green. We had, in addition to the Stonefoot group, we have Sandy Point, Keon, Lodge, Connery, Molyneux, and Sadler, just to name a few of the communities that are involved in the enhancement and beautification competition. And what we want to do essentially is to showcase the landscaping skills of the community enhancement teams, to enhance and beautify the environment at or near sites of national significance, like we were at Bloody River this morning, which is a serious national area of national significance, to promote a sustainable approach to community enhancement programs, to increase public awareness of the role and impact of the community enhancement group, to clean and provide safe environment not only for us but for the person to visit our federation. I want to say the brief but significant ceremony this morning, it went down well, and I want to take this opportunity to thank those from the STEP office and the STEP workers who attended. And I look forward to visiting some of the other sites where we're going to be showcasing the skills of the community enhancement teams.
I must mention though that this beautification program is so important, especially given the fact that we are a tourist destination and so on. You're enhancing the country, beautifying the country, keeping the country clean. That is extremely important.
That's why before we move to the Friday activity that will be outlined by Mr. Philip, I just want to say this. You see, the beautification of St. Kitts and Nevis and the community enhancement groups, I had to say to them over and over when we go around the island, yes, we are trying to ensure that when visitors come here, yes, they are impressed.
But it's for us.
However,
it's for us.
However, you're right on target, Mr. Williams.
It's for us.
We live here 24/7 unless we go for vacation and come back. St. Kitts and Nevis beautification and enhancement is about St. Kitts and Nevis people. We have to feel proud to be able to make input into beautifying our country.
For us.
It's for us.
It's
and
for
if
us
others
first
come
and
in,
foremost.
yes, and if others come in and feel good about it, yes,
We're happy.
Thumbs
they
up.
feel good about it.
but we have to Remember, when you look after your home, you don't look after your home for people coming in. You know? You look after your home for who live there.
Yeah.
So that's the point I really want to get across firmly to the people in St. Kitts and Nevis. I heard Minister Hamilton recently with appealing to people not to litter. And let me tell you something. We got to get this in our psyche. St. Kitts and Nevis cleanliness and beautification is about St. Kitts and Nevis people.
Not doing it for nobody.
Nobody else.
Right.
Others benefit because they come in and they feel good about it. But we have to be the focus of attention.
William?
Just to add before I go to the Friday activity, just to add to what Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Watley said about the beautification competition and the importance of the beautification. We also spent emphasis on the sustainability. We don't want to just have areas clean for just one day, 1 week,
Very good.
1 month.
Ongoing.
Good point.
We're going to make sure that it's ongoing. And we're going to put everything necessary in place to make sure that the areas selected now being properly maintained. So the emphasis was all about sustainability. Because we realize once we sustain those areas, the use of natural resources is going to be very important. We want to use stones and maybe wood from our own forests. Having sound environmental practices going to be important, which will be important not only to the maintenance but to food security. The using of pesticides and those kind of stuff, we want to get away from those. Community interaction. These sites, we want to be able to have them so that schools, children can visit these sites. And when tourists, of course, visit to this country, these are areas that they can stop and see, being maintained by S.T.E.P program. We move on now to our program of activities, which is Friday the 15th of this month. We want to showcase in the square every and all the avenues of training the skills, training of skills that the S.T.E.P programs are involved in. So when you come to the square, you expect to see auto mechanic being displayed, electrical, engineering, cosmetology, plumbing, carpentry, masonry. Almost every sector of skills training going to be demonstrated in the square. The agriculture sector, you're going to see booths with our farmers who have interns being trained, attached to their farm, displaying their products.
Okay.
And the way they grow their products. So it's going to be very important for you to come out. Come out on Friday. Come to the square, inviting every single person out to the square on Friday. Because most people really think that S.T.E.P is just a few persons when they're driving the bus, sitting down on the side road, cutting some grass. We are way, way more than that, and we're going to demonstrate that.
Yes.
It's important too for young people to come out, because we're really interested in having young persons learning skill. You come and you see a skill that you're interested in, come to the S.T.E.P office, register, and we facilitate that you'll have the training for that particular skills. So we're inviting you out to come in your numbers. We're going
So
to be there.
you're not gonna register there. Because that might be a place where you can do some registration too.
We have a
In
We're
this
going to
way.
provide. Yeah, we're going to provide a desk.
Okay.
Yes, for that, yes.
We have a desk where you can.
Information. You get
information, you can come pick up
Employees and
registration.
employers can register there, and we'll also be distributing pamphlets, providing information on the brochure, providing information on the STEP.
So employers can register.
Can
as
register
well.
also.
Right.
So we asking you to use the opportunity to come on out on Friday and see what we have to showcase, get an interest,
Okay.
and we would have you being a part of the STEP.
And it's from what
program.
time it starts?
It
when
starts
ends
at
when?
10 a.m. in the morning and we end at 5 in the
Okay,
PM.
so that's quite a few hours.
Quite a few hours.
Few hours, you know. Okay, we're going to go to the phone lines. I'm sure some people want to ask some questions of Mr. D'Souza and Mr. Watley and Mr. Philip and King Astro. The numbers to call are, the local number is 465-2555. That's 465-2555. And the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. That is 1718-577-2916. We already have a caller. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. William,
Good afternoon, sir.
and good afternoon to your guests.
Afternoon.
I want to say, I'm congratulating the YES program, the STEP program, and whatever program you all have. I want to say, I heard a caller. I mean, one of the person on the panel spoke about the people down at the Irishtown School. The college with Mrs. Clark, some of the people who cannot be a disability. And I think they are doing a wonderful job down there. And you all need to step it up. Which you all say the name is STEP. Because I spoke to one of the gentlemen and he said, man, they're learning to do computer wooden. They're learning to do this. And some of the people that you all have on the road doing cleaning the road, they're not doing it. They're not cleaning the road the way that they're supposed to be doing. I like to talk frankly and say what I have to say on my mind. And even when you go up to Greenland, at the Addis place here, the kids in India, they are enjoying themselves and they are going out and doing likewise. And they should be recommended by Mrs. Walters and also by Mrs. Clark for what work that they are doing with those people. You just cannot speak about some people just going to get a weekly salary and that's it. You all have to try and get your all programs together and uplift the program and let people to know. If you're disability and you want a trade, you can go down to the Irishtown School or don't do Tabernacle. Mother knows where they have these community centers and learn to get knowledge, get the education to do something. Not to stay on the side path and be bashing people and doing that other thing. And some of the people that are going up to the STEP program to look work, they're not getting any. They're telling them to come back and to come back and to come back. That is not right. Try and look for each and every one in this federation of singers and news by giving them a little piece of the pie. Try and get classes for them and so they can go out and learn an education and move on in life. We just cannot be coming on the radio and speaking because they have a 2 years anniversary which you all is doing. Come out and say exactly what you all intend to do to help these people who do not have an education so that they are. Class is open for you. It is paid by the government and from there you move on. That is what I would like to hear you all tell. And furthermore, I have a meeting with Mr. Watley whenever he's finished. Sometime like next week or whatever, so we can speak a little more about it. You have a pleasure day.
Okay, thank you for your call. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams, and the panelists there from the STEP program. Carl Brown here. Good afternoon to the listeners home and abroad. Guys, I am very proud of the work that you all have done in changing and motivating these folks. And there are several success stories But like the previous caller, I would have to let you all know that I have gotten a number of complaints from a number of persons that they don't have a job and they have tried and tried many times, went to the PEP office, full out forms and all kind of thing, and was told they're going to call, they check back many times and they can't get on, and none of the programs that they have applied for. Not even by the Labor Department, when all these jobs are advertising, they go, they're not getting anything. Government, nothing. Private sector, nothing. The other complaint is the folks that come out of prison with their many subjects. Many of them have complained that everywhere they go, people are telling them they're not hiring them because they're afraid that when they're working with the other workers that they have, that people come there either to shoot them up or hurt them and cause some problems on the job. We have to work with those people to find a way to get them employed. It makes no sense that we give them all these subjects in prison and now they have paid their dues and out here and come back to want to reconform themselves and to the society, that the same society now is rejecting them after they have done paid their dues. The other thing, guys, on the S.T.E.P program, where this S.T.E.P program, many years ago when y'all were asking for ideas, I am the one who suggested that the S.T.E.P program should be a 6 months, and after 6 months graduation and people seek employment, they seek to go out into their own business. Some of that have been done, but it needs to be enhanced some more, because what I'm looking at, guys, to take the lot of weight of employment that most people expect the government to employ most of the people. These people being trained and having skills, they now can in turn and hire people. Last thing before I go, in core on the businesses, both government and private sector, that since that you all have all these people training, that they now take these people on when they are looking for skilled people, because since we're training all these people, it don't make no sense that these people bring in people from overseas and we have the skill here, we have the people here trained and ready for work. Are gone, guys.
Okay, thank you. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to Mr. D'Souza and company. Now I want to commend the unity government in bringing this S.T.E.P program into the S.T.E.P program, step it up, that our young men and women out there can find something positive to do, especially learning a skill, because skill is very important. Because when you get a skill, you can even move on to other country and find something else to do, because you got a trade. But what I see still, a lot of our young girls, young girls, just step out of school, and the S.T.E.P program, and the side road, raking grass, and we got so much hotels opening up, and so much positive job going on. I believe that those young girls supposed to be in some kind of maybe organization training in a hotel, in some kind of workshop, training to do something positive in our country, because I see some of them from since in the government time still on this program, and this program designed for children to get a skill to move on, to go out and get a job in whatever various place you want to go and get a job. I would like to see our people, especially our young people and our young girls especially, in more positive, in something positive to do. Not only with cutting grass or raking grass. There's nothing wrong with that. But to be truthful, you got other people coming in here and getting the skill job, while our young people here could learn something. But I see that some of them may want to learn it, and some of them just want to be on the program all the time because it's an easy access out to them. They finish the work all and all those things. So, and some of them move on to the next job. And when they're done in the morning, they go up on the job, and when they're done, they go to the next job in the afternoon. So I would like to see something positive done with our young people in the Federation that find something positive to do and not stay on a PEP program forever. All right then.
Okay, thank you for your input. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, working for you, Leslie. How are you today?
I am good, jam down.
Leslie, I want to congratulate the ever hard working Dr. D'Souza.
Okay.
This guy is so dynamite. When you hear the negative people them talk, they try to say all kind of things about the guy. But the guy performed in this country for a lot of years. You know? And he's showing where we could do with these young people. Because these young people, as the last caller just said, Mr. Politics, that they should go out there and learn a skill. Because Mr. Dr. Harris, the Prime Minister, he had vision to turn that whole thing around from the vagabond where he was carrying it. You know, just wasting money. God bless Dr. Harris and these guys. They come the right time. The right time to rescue this beautiful country. Otherwise, where will we be? If Dr. Simmons didn't build this Port Zante, where this country will be? When that boy just go and just put out the show and nothing in plan, and he got about them just doing as they like with money. Look what Dr. Harris come and do in 3 years. Finding God. And we had a man there for 20 years can't find none. So that's why I want to congratulate the whole guys there with Dr. D'Souza, who driving the PEP, and Mr. Watley, using his experience from a teacher into the public service and doing so well and holding it together. God bless these guys. But we have to take it to the another level. I would like to see Mr. D'Souza ask a lot of these young boys to come to work on time and give the government time. We deserve it. This country deserves it. We can't afford to give them money just so. And as the last caller just said, he's right. We need back with skilled workers. A lot of them gone to the Great Bear, and a lot of them die, a lot of them gone away. We need these young boys to go and learn a skill. These are the days when you had to buy one drinking and the other man there, what they call him, he just passed me a couple of years ago. We can the days when we had just limited contractors, you got work all around. Young man, Mr. Warner. Half of them young men don't even want to look work it by one, and then one of them come up hard around here, you know.
Jam down.
Yes.
Some other people are trying to get in.
Okay, buddy, but I want to congratulate Dr. D'Souza again. He's doing a very good work. And don't let no vendor come in your way.
Okay.
Do what you know you got to do.
Okay.
God bless you.
Right. Thank you. We are going to take another 2 calls and then we'll allow you some time to answer. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Mr. D'Souza.
Good afternoon, sir.
Wonderful program as usual. Now, I think from the inception of this program, it should have been, but anyway, should have is behind our back. Should have been what you call a skillful training school, and also theoretic school that people could go there and learn something. And when you spend a certain amount of time there, then you graduate and you move on up, let somebody else come in, just like how it used to be at the sugar factory. When you leave school, you go sugar factory and you learn a trade. And today you can see the fruits of those guys who went to the sugar factory. Not just have people there banging out the blossom of the grass for 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours a day, so that the bees cannot get any pollen. And then you won't tell me they're going to get a whole week's pay. And a civil servant has to go in there and work 8 hours to get a week's pay. No. I think anybody who go to work from 7 o'clock in the morning, they should go right down to 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Because the kind of hours these people putting in, that is what? 11 hours a week, and they're getting 300 or something. That cannot be fair. So I would like you all to do something. Either make them go learn a skillful trade, or increase the hours, since you want to fool around with government money. Yeah, right. I know you all trying your best. because you all could have done with the program as it was designed to done in 6 months. But the government trying to help people. And so the government trying to help them, they must also help the government too. Wash the hand that help you. Don't sit down and lazy and cock up and then go stretch out your hand for a whole 40 hours and you only work 11.5 hours.
Right.
Can't be right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the gentlemen you have there. Well, when I say they must learn a skill, you know, some of them just decide to do for them, you know. They don't want to go nowhere else, you know. Because some of them left factory and gang over and the state give the job. Because nobody want to work 8 hours. So, some of them, they don't want to go learn nothing, to go nowhere because steps just enough for them. And some of them are 23 jobs.
He has a point. Okay, we'll allow you to, Mr. Watley, to.
Okay, let me first of all respond to the first caller, Mr. Dyer. I know that gentleman well. He has been at the office, came with some good ideas, and we discussed a number of things. The matter of at his place, certainly, and the persons with challenges at the McKnight Community Center. There are areas that we can enhance those two facilities, but that is a work in progress as we go forward. And so, as part of the S.T.E.P program, we are in the process of moving forward. Well, first of all, evaluating the program, looking at the program, how it works, and looking at changing some processes.
Mr. Watley.
Okay.
The phones are ringing off.
Could I finish this point though? It is very important that persons recognize that the S.T.E.P is not static. We are in the process, as Mr. D'Souza indicated, Mr. Green. It
is evolving.
It is evolving, and so forth. Carl Brown made some important points about the matter of persons who to be rehabilitated from the HMS prison. And he's right. There are a number of persons who end up with a number of CSEC subjects. And there's a gentleman who is basically completing his master's at this time in prison. But the challenge we face is that our society is a very unforgiving society. We tend to believe once somebody has been placed in prison that we don't forget.
We call them jailbird.
Yeah, and we just keep that tag for life. And I think that is bad. Our society has to be able to make the incremental adjustment for those persons who made a mistake and is willing to change. Because I've seen this, right? Where persons are willing to change, and it's not a matter of being willing. You've seen it, but number of workplaces, they're not willing to have these people because they say, "Oh, he went to jail for that."
But it's not even sometimes, Mr. Wally, that they're willing to change. Sometimes they have changed.
They have changed. They have changed.
People have changed.
They have changed.
But if we believe in human nature that people can change, some people believe that people never change. The leopard never changed their spots.
That's the unforgiveness of the society.
People can change.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to?
Yeah. Well,
Walk into 2 o'clock. You should mention the walk into 2 o'clock.
Mr. Philip is going to speak. I want Mr. Philip to speak about this period of time when persons would be working, because it is critical that persons recognize that we are, as I said before, we are evolving with respect to certain procedures within the S.T.E.P program. Mr. Philip.
Yes, lately we have been around to all the enhancement groups, and we are saying to them, listen, you start working at 7 o'clock. We don't want you to come on the job exactly 7. Try come a little before 7 so you can prepare and start at 7. You take a break at 10. to 10:30.
Is it a water break? What's that?
A water break.
A tea break.
You take a tea break, a coffee break.
Okay.
10:30, 10:35, 10:40, and then you go back and you work straight down to 2 o'clock. We're saying, okay, on Fridays then, it's normal now, even on the construction site. On Fridays you don't go right down to your regular time. We say on Fridays you could leave at 11. So this is the way we are going forward as we speak. They have to be working from 7 to 2 o'clock.
No long tea breaks.
No long tea breaks. No longer you go at 7 and then you finish at 9. I finish at 10. And I'm ensuring that my field officers are out there. And I myself leave my office sometime at 12 o'clock to go around to see that, because if I leave at 12, you should be there when I come there.
That's right. That's good.
So we are monitoring the situation.
Yeah, and they will always
it's a work in progress.
Try to cheat the system.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. They put in very little and they want to get out a lot.
I just want to add on Mr. Williams that Mr. Phillip and myself, before Mr. Watley came, went around the island trying to impress upon the community enhancement teams that when taxpayers are driving around this country 10, 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, they need to see you working. Because these same taxpayers who are employed by the government cannot be driving around the island at 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock when they're supposed to be employed in an institution. We want you to appreciate that the ladies at the industrial site, the men who work at the industrial site, they go to work from 7 o'clock, 7:30, and they work down to 4 o'clock, and basically they're taking home the same wage like these people who work on the community enhancement team. They have a responsibility to deliver for the pay that they are getting, and the country of course has responsibility to make sure that they are employed. We want to impress upon them that we are very serious about ensuring that you stay on the job and do work for the money that the government is paying you. We know that there are going to be cases where we have to make some allowance for, but in the main we are making an appeal to the people who work in the enhancement team, the community enhancement team, to work and stay on the job longer than most of you do. When you look at it, Mr. Williams, the folks who are assigned to education, the folks who are assigned to national security, they stay on the job practically the whole day.
Yeah.
You understand me? And they get the same wage.
Yeah.
Right?
In talking about that, we have to factor in something else. There are a number of people who are on the S.T.E.P, who are now getting an additional $500 from the people, what you call it? The Poverty Alleviation Program. Because they say they're eligible because they're not making $3,000.
Yes.
They live alone.
Right.
They live alone.
Right.
And so they so
Highly paid.
they're highly paid.
Highly paid. Highly paid.
Highly paid.
Thanks for the point, Mr. Williams. Yes.
I just want to comment on a point that Culture made when you point to what he thinks the emphasis of the program, the S.T.E.P program should be. And I just want to, maybe Mr. Culture probably tuned in a little bit late, but the S.T.E.P program certainly is taking care of the direction which Culture is pointing to. We have almost 100 persons who are assigned to the ABIT program in different areas: cosmetology, hospitality, electrical works, etc., etc. It's a 2-year program, as Mr. D'Souza did indicate, with respect to that program and the TVEC certification program. But in June or July this year, we will have the first batch graduating.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I wouldn't say work till 4 o'clock with this step. That's too long to me because you can't have grass about you all day. I will say 1 o'clock just good because then I have no lunch. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your call. Working for you, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. The working hours are from 7 until 2?
Yes, 7 until 2.
Yeah.
That's why we are asking.
Yes, and we have a mixed group like male and female. When women come down, do they have place to shelter? And when the ladies or even the gentlemen them want to use the bathroom, do they have place to go? You see, if you stipulate that strict working hours, you get into a little bit of problem, because if they don't have bathroom facilities, they don't have place to shelter, then you cannot expect them to work for the same hours as everybody else who are comfortable in a different environment of a workplace. They're on the road, under the blazing sun, and you cannot expect them to put in the same amount of hours as a person who sits in an office on an air condition and those kind of things.
Yes, go ahead and respond.
If I may respond, we are stipulating from 7 to 2. But we have invest some powers in the supervisors themselves, saying, listen, be reasonable. Once your group comes out and they're productive and they perform, the office doesn't have a problem if you allow them to leave at 12:30 or 12 o'clock. But not every single day.
They leave at 9. Can't have that.
You leave at 9 o'clock.
Can't have that.
That's not acceptable.
So we take what you say in consideration, and we invested that authority in the supervisors who supervise those interns on a daily basis.
Okay. The person was trying to make some allowances because, as she said, you're in the hot sun all day and so on. You're not in an air-conditioned office. You know? And I suppose that, there can be a little bit of a leniency, but I mean, some people really overdo it.
Yeah, the problem is with the short hours. Some people want to just show up at 8 o'clock and cut to
by 10 o'clock they're gone.
10 o'clock they're gone, and that is intolerable. I mean,
is it because they have nothing to do?
That's why they have work to do. I have walked to the circus and seen a supervisor 8:30, 8:45, and you approach him. Why are you here? You're supposed to be out there working, and they're trying to impress upon me that they went to work at 4 o'clock. We don't want that.
No,
we don't want nobody going to work at 4 o'clock. We want you to be out there working when you can be supervised.
Yes.
You want to be out there working when you can be, when taxpayers can see you producing work for the money that the government is paying you. And they have to be very mindful of that. People who work hard for the government and get whatever they get will not be receptive to step workers going on the job. And when you go in some of these communities at 8:30, 8:45, you can't find a step worker. That is not acceptable as well.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not acceptable at all.
It's not acceptable.
And let me say further to this, Mr. Williams.
To come back.
This is where we have the problem. Those persons in the community enhancement group, is actually the face of the STEP program.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people see them. And so
they're the visible ones.
the misconception with respect to the STEP program
is that it's just it's a program without
coming from here.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And so that's why it's so difficult to get people's mind changed with respect to their perception, because they see daily persons out there and they come to the conclusion people ain't working, or they're working part-time or whatever.
But the supervisors, William, have a responsibility.
Yes, they do.
They do. Because if you only come for 2 hours, you should only be paid for the 2 hours you come for.
Yes. That should be
recorded. But you probably would have some cheating too on the program. That's another thing, where people are not working but yet the time is being filled in on the time sheet. That cannot be right either.
All of those things we are looking into as well. All of those challenges we are trying to deal with.
Those are some of the challenges. Actually, when we took over from PEP to STEP, when we visited the enhancement groups, we noticed that some of the supervisors were the auntie or the uncle are the mother or the sister of the trainees.
Making sure they get paid.
Making
Whether they work or not.
And you know, one of the things that you must impress upon again is that when the name change or the change of the direction we wanted to go, there was a re-registration process and there was a weeding out process where a lot of the people who wasn't doing anything prior, we was able to get some of those people. We get a lot of those people. Yes, you'll miss one or two, but we have. I think we have.
Thanks for that.
For the best, better part of it, we have corrected that wrong.
So there were many irregularities. That now, you know, they're not so many irregularities.
Yeah. We spoke about
that were inherited.
Yes, we spoke about the re-registration, and we have found that person was overseas and was still on the payroll.
Yes. Mr. Bradley was making the point.
3:05.
It is 3:05. It's time for us to go. So anything you would like to say in parting?
Yeah, I just want to thank the host of Working For You for having us here today. I want to thank the management of ZAZ. I want to remind the general public of the fair on Friday. That's one of the major events in the list of activities to mark the second anniversary. We look forward to the support of the general public. We look forward to a change in attitude with some of the workers on the S.T.E.P program. We are making a serious and concerted effort to bring about the necessary change in emphasis on the program, and we hope that we can achieve that. I want to take this opportunity to thank Oscar Brown, the senior field officer in Nevis, for being here with us today. We know how it is with the movement of the boat and what have you, so it is a demonstration to me of commitment and of interest, and I want to wish him well with his efforts in Nevis. Thank you very much again.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank those persons who called in, who raised questions with respect to the program, and those who gave quality input as regards to how the program can go forward. I wish to also thank those employers who have been willing to accept persons, trainees assigned to them. And I wish to request of you to give consideration to having persons being part of your payroll going forward.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Philip.
I would like to thank you and your program for the opportunity to be here so we can explain to the public. Before I go there, I want to thank my staff at the S.T.E.P office for the corporation and the work that we are doing. And we look forward for such continued teamwork as we journey along.
I too want to thank you, Mr. Williams, and I really appreciate the invitation to be here, to be a part of this program. I also want to thank the government for the vision of trying to restructure and shape this program in an image that is reflective of what we like to see in our sector of people. So thank you, good program. My first trip here, I'm hoping that I'll have
you need to put it in a calypso.
Right,
all that is good about S.T.E.P, you need to put it into a calypso.
Mr. Watley,
I give that to
Bradley left.
I'll get pension on that one.
Right, calypso, I'm saying.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you, Mr. D'Souza, Mr. Watley, Mr. Philip, and Mr. Brown for being here. Of course, we are stepping it up.
Thanks for having us.
We are stepping it up.
Supporting all the efforts of the government.
And supporting the efforts of the government to help our people to advance socio-economically. We want to thank you for listening to today's program. All of you who tuned in, we appreciate you every week that you could listen, that you could know how the government is actually working for you. Next week, we will be back for another Working For You program. Next week, we are going to have on our program the Ministry of International Trade. They will be here. I am your host, Lesroy Williams. Until then, have a good time.
Working for you. a weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Z Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.